Hey guys, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. So you know what your number one problem is in anything in life, especially your business? Well, over here, I've kind of laid it out in the blue. We focus on the bottom one here, our actions. We focus on dealing with employees and we're focusing on addressing their actions. You know, I asked you to do this, you did that. I need you to start doing this, right? I'm the boss. I tell you what to do. You need to follow my instructions or I'm going to have to find somebody else, right? And all this is true, but we're going about this wrong. Now, I'm going to start with employees, but I want to ultimately talk about you, the owner, because you are no exception, not to the extent that you think you are, at least. Maybe you're somewhat of an exception. I think we all are. But the reason that people don't have the appropriate actions that you desire, the actions are coming out either as success or a failure, quite frankly, is that there's an emotional incongruency. There's a conflict internally, emotionally. I'm going to give you two quick examples with it. As a boss, we had rolled out the new flat rate system. We were the very first in our area way back in the 90s, and I had a service meeting, and one of my technicians, as I'm going around, I asked Stacy, I said, Stacy, what happened to that job on Friday, the blower? Why didn't you put it in? He said, well, the customer didn't want it. The customer said that the price was way too high, and I don't blame him. It was. Right? His emotions bled through. He didn't say, here's your price, $428, whatever it was. He says, this is your price. Remember, communication is 97% verbal. He told him the price, but all that other stuff, that 93%, facial expression, tonality, body language, all this stuff he's going to communicate that customer. That customer doesn't know what these things cost, especially way back then, right? They didn't have the internet to go look up a capacitor and see what that thing cost. The point is, I immediately recognized, thank goodness, that I had a belief system issue. Until this guy understood clearly how we arrive at our pricing and that it is a fair pricing, you know, I was fighting an uphill battle all the way. Maybe you deal with this. Same thing is true in sales. If you can't sell before I go into sales, we did a class on our flat rate because they didn't understand it. We were the very first. Callahan Roach was the pioneer back then. We went with them. Or at least they were the predominant one during that time. And so we started implementing it. So I broke all of that down. We did an exercise right there. I just stopped the meeting. I did a full breakdown. Fortunately, I'd been through a recent financials class and it was pretty fresh. And I come up to $119 an hour. And I said, guys, these books are based on $120. We're making $1 an hour. You should have seen the hush go over. And the same text says, we need to go up. And I said, well, wait a minute. We've got markup factored in there and some other variables, but I just need you to know our prices are fair. Well, what happened was it was a total, not just with him, but my entire service team changed. Our service tickets went way up. I mean, they were like, this is $500. It's a good price. You need to take advantage of it. They were dead. That was the way they would talk, right? Another example. This is even more fundamental. And I should have known better, but I was a brand new employer. I had hired my first employee. I had taken him straight out of the school, but he was a 38-year-old graduate, and he knew mechanical. He had come from another mechanical background. They had closed down that particular industry in our area, and he came to work for me. And so he was coming along. You know, he come into the middle of the summer and he kind of helped me out, and I was starting to catch up because there was a lot to do as a one-person company, as I'm sure many of you know. And so long story short, we went all the way through the winter, and I'm getting ready because I've been working with this guy and we're getting everything ready, and we're going into the summer. And what does he do? He comes in, he quits. He says, Pete, I'm sorry to leave you, but I've got to do this. I got to go out on my own. And you know, if you've dealt with that, you know what that feels like. You carry somebody all the way through the times investing in them because you're going to get that return. And then they just keep that for themselves and walk off and try to reap it all for themselves. That was a very painful experience for me, but a very eye-opening experience because I remember, you know, a few years before as a young technician making $10 an hour and the boss was charging $40 an hour and thinking to myself, man, he's getting rich off of me. If I start my business, I'm going to pay my guys $25 an hour, $35 an hour, whatever, you know, and you just don't need all that extra money. I thought I'm making some boss man rich, and my emotional state was resentment against my boss. After all, he was exploiting and taking advantage of us, right? We poor employees out there doing all the work. Well, I got an eye-opening lesson, but I didn't teach that to my employee, and so he left me. He left me, and he got out there, and he busted his hump all summer, and he tried his best, and at the end of the summer, he came back humble, and he said, "Pete, I am so sorry. I will never leave you again. Please just take me back. I don't know how you do all of this, but this is not for me. I just want to do my job and go home." Right? And I mean, you got a choice there, you know. And this guy was a good guy, and he was legit. And so I hired him back, and he stayed with me for the rest of the years I was in business. I was in business a total of 10 years before I sold my business. The point is, if we know about these beliefs, if you've got resentful employees, this is where this kind of stuff is coming from. Their beliefs are inaccurate. Either that or you're a jerk, right? As a boss. But, sometimes they're legit. But things, maybe you're carrying some baggage as well. And this happens, right? We're all human beings. But as a leader, you have to rise above that. You're going to have to address your beliefs. And I started to go down the sales path because we've got a sales training program starting tonight with our private group. But if you're having trouble selling, and you're dealing with that emotional conflict inside of you, generally that's due to you either A, don't believe in what you're selling. And if you're a true craftsman, you probably do. I love my product. I love our installation procedures. Or you don't believe that it's worth the amount that you're charging, kind of like my service tech did. And until you address that and go through the exercise and get this clear in your head, your emotional state is going to create incongruency in your behavior that is easily perceived by your customer. And they're going to say, because they have the same thing. They don't know what you know in your beliefs. All they have is the ability to perceive, and they have an emotional response. I don't feel good about this. I'm going to decline. Right? And they call sales a transfer of enthusiasm. Well, enthusiasm is interpreted as truth. If you're enthusiastic about something, it's because you absolutely truly believe in it, and your customer doesn't understand the details, but they know what that means subconsciously, and therefore they're inclined, or much more inclined, to go with you because they can see, hey, this person's for real. He truly believes in what he does. You can tell he's good at what he does. He's a professional, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you've done to demonstrate that, this is where your success comes from. Now, we have to address all these issues throughout our business, and now we're coming back full circle to you, the business owner. I promise you, every success that you have in your business is probably tied to some really good beliefs that you have. And by virtue of that, every failure, challenge, struggle, issues that you're working with right now is because of your beliefs, your limiting beliefs. How do you change your limiting beliefs? Well, you bring in new information. You bring in an education, right? You can take a course. You can read a book. You can hire a coach. You can hire a consultant. You can take training. You can join a peer group. Whatever it takes, the source is very important. You need to find a source that you trust. All right? If you're reading some ebook off an online course, maybe you trust it, maybe you don't. If you find somebody that knows what they're doing and you can perceive that the person does have the capacity, the intellect, the experience, the emotion, the passion, everything needed that is congruent, or it's all pointing in the same direction, then you know that that you can open up your belief systems and have them reorganized and realigned, right? And speaking of alignment and beliefs, until this is the biggest problem for employees, until you address your employees' beliefs on every key activity that you desire out of them, until you get a healthy belief that's in line with yours, your beliefs and desires to go in a direction are this way, and theirs are different. You'll never get there. They're going to pull you away. It's not going to work. Okay? But it's an easy enough fix. All you have to do is address those beliefs. And this requires being a leader, not a boss, a leader. A leader has regular meetings with their employees or coworkers. A leader inspires, not necessarily dictates, unless circumstances which occasionally call for that. And then in that case we have to. But for the most part, a leader is somebody that the employees look up to, respect, trust, and are willing to follow because their beliefs are congruent and their values are congruent with the leaders and the owners. So that's my little lesson, or a little tip, I should say, for those of you out there. And if you need some help with your beliefs, and we all do, and I'm going to tell you guys, I have a coach. Do you have a coach? I mean, who in their right mind does not have somebody they can call on occasionally and get real advice? You know, somebody who's been there, done that, who's got the years of experience. Not from outside of the industry, but from exactly what you're doing, right? You need a coach. Just find somebody that your values align with. If your values are integrity, honesty, caring, true empathy, not necessarily sympathy. Empathy and sympathy are a little different. Sympathy is let's cry together. Empathy is I can at least put myself in your position, so I know what you're going through. Okay, and that's an important role for you as a service provider for your customers as well. You must display empathy, right? That's where trust comes from. So somebody that you can trust, somebody who has the capacity and the experience, and somebody who actually cares, who gives a darn, who's going to follow up with you and say, "Did you get that figured out? What else can I help you with?" Right? To help you through. Guys, it's called return on investment. This is business, guys. Grow up, right? Quit thinking I can't, right? It took me a while to figure this. My first time in taking a class, I took a year-long program with Ron Smith, and he became famous later as the author of HVAC Spells Wealth. I give all my kudos to Ron. Ron, if you see this, I love you. I hadn't forgotten about you. He had such an impression on me because he I think it was Modern Air Conditioning down in Florida, Sarasota, Tampa, somewhere in there. I can't remember now. But he had built this organization. This guy knew his stuff, and he addressed everything, including the psychology and the beliefs. And he went in and he helped me. And my sister was my office manager at the time, and her. And we came in and we reorganized our company culture, and we became the #1 fastest growing company in our area, bar none. In fact, we were train dealers, and we did so well. I had my territory manager on a maintenance agreement. I had the district manager on a maintenance agreement. I had their facility on a maintenance agreement. And when they had issues, they called us to go over there and clean up other dealers' problems. It was really a transformation because before going to that class, we were struggling. How do I make sales? How do I make payroll? How do I get more business? How do I get more customers? I can't deal with this. How am I dealing with these employees? Why can't they think for themselves? It's me. They're just I can't leave. I can't take vacation. I can't take a day off. Does this sound familiar? Okay, so I went through Ron's class, and it was so good. Next time he came back through, he did another year-long program. I did it again. And then I did Dr. Ron Collier. I did Ruth Smith. I did, you name it, during those times. If they came through, Steve Howard, I took his sales training program, his maintenance agreement program. Because, why reinvent the wheel? We took our money out and we paid somebody, and it came back 100-fold at least. Get a coach. That's my best advice. Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. Let's focus on those beliefs. Let's make them healthy. And if you have employees, let's create an opportunity for your employees to express their beliefs so that you can deal with them. And the only way you can do that is to be an approachable leader, not an over-demanding boss. Just a thought for the day. Pete Ramsey, HVAC Greatness. You guys take care. Be safe, and I will talk to you on the next one. We're out.